So today I'm going to give you the workout routine that builds an aesthetic body. This, and how do I know it builds an aesthetic body? That may be the first question of dubiousness in your mind. Well, it's the workout routine I use with all clients, to be honest, that come to me. For those of you that are new to the channel as well, welcome. My name is Tom Sergi. I run the Gorilla Platoon, which is an online physique transformation program. And I use this workout split with all of them, provided they can train 5 days. And obviously, if they can't, then we use 3 or 4 day splits. And this one's going to be a 5-day split, which is geared to around building an aesthetic upper body. So let's waste no time. You're going to know what exactly the workout is, why it is that way as well, how to perform it, and just the general like ins and outs of like tempo, intensity, and all that good stuff as well. So let's waste no time and get straight in. So the training split is as follows. As I said, a 5-day training split with the goal of building an upper body aesthetic physique. It means you don't wrap on legs completely. You still have a leg day, but a lot of the time people will speak about training legs twice a week. For the longest of time, I used to train legs twice a week, and actually doesn't hold as much weight as I once thought, and also it's a lot of fucking effort to do 2 leg days. It's very taxing on the CNS and from an energy standpoint as well. So the split is as follows: push, pull, legs, then you have a first rest day of the week, then you do chest and back, and then arms and delts. And you could say, well, why not do just push and pull on repeat again? And the reason for that is most people, most males, when they start out, don't have the biggest of arms and shoulders. So actually, give it its own day. But why give it its own day? Because you're going to be fresh when you start those very first movements on that session. Because most of the time, anyway, and the way I program, your isolation is going to be towards the back end of the session, because it's less taxing. But if we can do it when we're fresh at the start of delts and arms, you're going to be able to shift more load because you're fresher, so it's going to be able to put more stimulus on the muscle. So as we roll through the workout, we've got the first session, which is push. This is looking to target your chest, delts, and arms. Now, the first thing I start with is a pec deck. I'm sure you've seen what a pec deck is. If not, let me just pull a quick video up. So this here is a pec deck. Why do we use this? And don't worry, I'm not going to go through every exercise in the program and show you a video of it. But the reason I start with this is because, so we're looking to target the pecs, right? And the pecs will start here by where your sternum is, and they'll run across your chest and insert onto your humerus, your upper arm. So what the pec deck does is it gets you contracting the muscle as the function of the muscle is supposed to be worked. The function of the muscle is to pull your humerus towards the midline of your body. And we're going to do this now under load. And what this gets us in the mindset of is to train our chest, we need to move our bicep towards our pecs. Look at me, not the cheekers in the background. That's what we need to think about. And then I want you to take that into the next chest exercises. The reason people struggle to activate their chest is because they just press the load from A to B from their hands, and their shoulders end up getting fucked up. But if you can start with this exercise, you're going to get a lot of blood into the tissue, because this exercise is hardest here in the shortened position as opposed to the lengthened, just because of the tension and the way the cable is set up. So you're going to get a lot of blood in there, hit the muscle in the shortened position where you're weakest first, and nail down the mindset of bicep to pec as you go through. So then from there, you're going to go into one of your main movers, your incline dumbbell press. This is going to be a heavy, heavy exercise. You're going to look to move as much load as possible, and this is going to look to target the muscle in the stretch position of the movement. Then we revert back to a flat machine chest press, and the reason for this, I want to hit the muscle again in the shortened position, but I want it to be stable. I don't want to have to be fucking around with like dumbbells trying to stabilize them. And the beautiful thing about a machine is a lot of the time they will converge away from you, which, as I said, they get harder then as you push away, whereas the dumbbell gets harder as you stretch out. Then go into a machine shoulder press, and the reason I go for machine on this day is because at this point, I'm pretty fucking fried, and you should be too. If you absolutely send it on these first 3 exercises, by the time you come to this, you're going to be pretty toast, right? So go for a machine, use the stability of the machine, and you can just focus on the working muscle. Then we revert to tricep dips. Tricep dips I find to be like the compound exercise for your triceps. Very, very loadable. Put a belt on with load attached to it, and go through the movement, keeping your body upright and straight to just really target the triceps. Save the forward lean if you can. Dumbbell lateral raises, and then where it says cross-body tricep extension, we're looking for any form of elbow extension, where we're looking to straighten out the arm as such. You can use a rope, you can use a bar, you can use 2 ropes, you can use 2 cables, and that will work as follows. Now, the next thing to look at as we go into the program is how you're going to execute it itself. I actually don't do any more than 3 sets within a given exercise. And for a lot of time, I'll be doing 2 different types of sets. So let's take the example of the incline dumbbell press, one of our main money movers to move it as much load as possible. We're going to do a heavy top set of 6 to 10 repetitions. Now, why do I program this? Well, it gets you in the mindset of fucking sending it really, really hard. If you've got 3 sets of 8 to 10, you're going to try and stay consistent across all sets. If I tell you to absolutely send it in the first 6 to 10, you're going to do something you've never done before. You're going to break past that barrier. And a lot of people, if here is where gains are made, a lot of people train here all the time. Like good training, long training, hard training. But they don't break past that point. That's why they don't really progress and get that next bit of muscle. I'm not saying this is the best method since sliced bread. I'm not. I'm just saying I've seen it works to really get intensity out of clients. And then you're going to drop the load by 20% and back off and do a 12 to 15. And what this does is it almost brings the load in line with your level of fatigue that you've accumulated on the first set. Here, where it's isolation, we can do two sets of 12 to 15, higher rep, back off to 15 to 20. And where we've got a machine, you can do 2 top sets because you're not having to stabilize the load, therefore that energy can be used. It's not being wasted in a stabilizing. You can use that almost residual energy to do another set. Next thing you'll see I've got here is the tempo. So this is the speed you're going to perform each repetition. For all movements, you're going to come for 3 seconds through the eccentric phase of the movement, so the way down of any movement. And you're going to make sure you stop at the bottom. You're going to separate the down and the up. The reason people don't really grow that much muscle is because they rush the way down and they don't stop at the bottom, and then they just go back into the concentric. Everyone thinks it's just lifting weights, is pressing the load back up, when it's not. Your goal is not to lift the weights. Your goal is to stretch and shorten the muscle with the load. It's to bring the origin and the insertion together. So you pull your chest fibers apart, keep the tension at the bottom, then you drive them back together, and that's how you get a solid contraction on the muscle. Some exercises, if there's tension at the top, I'll spend 2 seconds there. If there's no tension at the top, I'll just spend 1. RAR is reps in reserve, so this is how many reps you could do if I was stood next to you going, come on, motherfucker, go again. You're like, no. I'm like, go again. You're, okay, go again. And then you keep going until you literally had nothing left. You want to train with 0 RAR. You really do. Every time you train, you want to be pushing to that point of absolute failure. And I'll just show you what that would look and feel like. So this is a typical set of like 0 reps in reserve. So tempo, separate the down, drive back up. We're thinking bicep to pec, stretch it out, bicep to pec, stretch it out. Stay composed, sternum stays up, we don't let the chest cave in. You want to keep that chest expanded over the rib cage. Comes down steady, getting a little bit tough now. Composory breaths at the top. And we're into that last rep. And we're fucking grinding, and we're still going. That's 0 RAR. There's not a chance I'm getting another rep out there or even attempting it. So that's what we're looking for 0 RAR. And that's how you're going to conduct the push day. Log and record your sessions so you know what you did to improve on next time. The next thing we're going to train is pull, and this is biceps and back, lats and traps basically. So I start off with a single arm pull down, almost. It's not the same as a pec deck, but it has the same principle. We're going to isolate really 1 lat, and we're going to look to bring the origin and the insertion together, which looks like... So the lat starts down here, runs up your back, and will insert onto your humerus. So your goal here is just to drag your humerus down towards your hip. Bring the 2 points together, contract the muscle. Don't think about pulling the load from your hands, same as you wouldn't press the load up from your hands on a pushing movement. You're just going to drag that elbow down towards the hip, wrapping the lat back around the spine and really toasting it off and getting it absolutely firing. Then we're going to move on to a chest supported T-bar row. This can be any form of chest supported row, but do support your chest, because why wouldn't you stabilize everything else so you can focus on the working muscle? Like, let's be honest, most people are weak in their upper back trap area because, like me right now, they're sat with probably rounded shoulders and they're always protracted. So we need to spend a lot of time reverting the other way, pulling it back and actually growing a good set of traps. The traps can take a lot of load, but if you don't support your chest when you do it, your lower back or your glutes or your hamstrings will fail before your traps do. Same with, that's why you should wear straps, because ultimately your grip strength will go before anything else will. So they're a big muscle, load it up well, support everything else, and absolutely just abuse your traps. Speaking of which, so the T-bar row will hit the mid to lower trap region, and then I program actually cable shrugs instead of dumbbell shrugs. The reason they just didn't have cable shrugs on this app, but it's not the end of the world. Dumbbell shrugs are okay, but they're going to send you straight up. When you're doing actual cable shrugs, you want to shrug back towards your ears, and that's the way the fibers run. If you were to look at an image of the way the traps run here, and I just find me and maybe quite a few other men have smaller upper traps, so it's something you want to target. Single arm row, this is to target the lower portion of the lats. So we've targeted maybe the upper portion. You're going to do the same, but it's basically just the same as the pull down, but you're going to row. Then we're into dumbbell hammer curl, rear delt flies, incline dumbbell bicep curl, and a set of abs decline ab crunch. So a big session there, eight exercises to get through. Takes a bit of time, but what else are you going to do in the day? Into legs, so we start off by hitting the muscle in the shortened position with leg extension for quads, and the shortened position for hamstrings with hamstring curl. You can do lying or seated. Seated is quote unquote better, only because you've put your hip in a flex position and the hamstring has to run over it, so it's more stretch. I personally connect better with lying. That's just my preference. Then you're going to hit the muscle in the lengthened position by doing an RDL. I prefer Smith machine. Let's go over RDL actually. That's an exercise that deserves its own talk. So despite me telling you I do it on a Smith machine, the only video I actually have, I do have a video of it on a Smith machine. Okay, so on the Smith machine, you're going to set yourself up. Feet are hip width apart, not shoulder width apart. In a squat, they're going to be shoulder width. On a RDL, they don't need to be. You always want to stand as if you're in a box. Feet are facing forward, not out. Look at the little bend within the knees. This is a micro bend. If you try and do this with straight legs, it will fucking hurt behind the knees. Let me tell you that for free. Then from there, you want to pull your shoulders down and back. And it wants to feel like you're holding the load with your lats. That's how this wants to feel. Now, when you descend through the movement, you're going to think about pushing your hips backwards away from you. Pause, hips come forwards. Bang. See the tense in the glutes. Pause, forward, bang. Slow, get the pause, bang. Keeping everything straight here. Keep the back nice and straight. Hips come forward. So think of this movement as more of a backwards and forwards from the hips, because it's a hip hinge movement, and as opposed to thinking of coming up and down with the bar. If you come up and down with the bar, you won't activate this so much. So push your hips back, then get to the bottom, feel the stretch. Imagine, as graphic as this sounds, someone's going to poke you in the ass, you're going to tense your ass cheeks, and you're going to come up, bang. And then this got real fucking heavy real fast. I was starting to dangle it, starting to slip out my hands as well. There you go. And that's the RDL. So we programmed that for the lengthened position. As you go into the next exercise, I've programmed leg press. However, after your first 12 weeks, go from a leg press to something like a hack squat or a Smith machine back squat. And the reason I say that is leg press is good, but the hip joint will close up more than the knee joint will. So what we want to do is find something where we can get the most amount of what's called knee flexion, aka knee bend. Because the more knee bend you can get, the more stretch you're going to get on the quads. And as we're looking to target in the lengthened position, it will serve you to do so. So progress from a leg press to one of those exercises. Dumbbell split squat, I prefer the Bulgarian variation of this. Elevate the rear leg. Dumbbell goes in the same hand as the working leg. Big, heavy fucking dumbbell. Strap it to your hand. Other hand can hold something that's stable to focus on that. After you've run your rest day, or on your rest day, you'll be pretty toasted after these 3 sessions. So you're going to rest, then you're back in, attacking the upper body, chest and back. Again, pec deck's in there again to start with. This time we're going to hit flat dumbbell and an incline machine, so we've just switched the two around. Pull-ups are then in there next. You're going to add load to those once you can progress on the rep ranges. Chest supported T-bar row. Single arm row again in there for the lower lats. And dumbbell shrugs in there again for those traps. generally speaking, when I look at most people's physiques, their lower portion of their lats are quite or almost like non-existent, and that's the reason I program this exercise twice per week, because it's a real lagging area of most people, and it can add significant width to your physique. If I show you, so this is what my back used to look like, and you can kind of see there's not, obviously the whole back is bigger now, but like there's not that much going on down this point here. This lower lat exercise will add this bit of chunk of muscle down in this pocket here. So that's why I program it so much, and it adds a nice real V width to the physique. So that's why I program that quite heavily for people. And then you'll finish with your rear delt flies again. Now, after that, you're going to go into delts and arms. And to start off with, you've got the dual cable lateral raises, and then you're into dumbbell shoulder press. Behind the back cable lateral raises, dumbbell lateral raises again. Now, with this, and what I've started to do for people, I've started to put the tricep dips right at the start. And you may think, why would I do that? It's the most loadable exercise you can do for your triceps. So do it whilst you're freshest. Because on the other session here, we're doing it right towards the end, exercise 5. You're not going to be able to lift as much load, so put this at the start. Then I'd be going into dumbbell shoulder press. Then I'd do my first bicep exercise, which would be the standing cable curl. Beauty of this exercise, you're going to be able to keep tension on in the lengthened position, so at the bottom. After that, you're going to go back into, I would actually go back into a tricep exercise here with the push down. Then into cable lateral raises for the delts. Then I'd be into biceps, the preacher curl, and then finishing with one more delt exercise, dumbbell lateral raises, and decline ab crunch. We're hammering the fucking delts here. We want to absolutely blow them up. And that is the training split which I would program for you if you were part of my coaching community. And it's the one I find gets really good results. So hopefully you can take it away. You know why I do it, and you know how to execute on it from there, with some main movements also addressed. So if you found value in this video, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.